top class. It's the Quintessential Show.
It is the Quintessential Show right here on Quintessential ZA, and you know what that means. It is the movers and shakers of South Africa. And today on the show, we have the CEO and co-founder of Valor. It is Farzam Ehsani. Farzam, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Good to be here.
Listen, we've had a recovery maybe from the last 2 weeks of volatility in the crypto markets. How are you, and how are the markets treating you today?
No, I'm well. Thank you so much, Quintus. Markets are up today, which is good. I think the last couple of weeks, particularly last week, was extremely volatile. $1 trillion wiped off the crypto market valuation, obviously, which is a huge amount. Just to think about the fact that a year or two ago, the entire crypto market cap wasn't even worth $1 trillion. So now to have $1 trillion wiped off the value shows also the incredible growth of the asset class. So it's been an interesting time. I think that type of volatility is also expected. For those of us that have been in the industry for many years, you cannot expect the quick rises without corresponding declines. But overall, we're still up. As in Bitcoin is still up, a couple of 100% from a year ago, etc. So lots of volatility, but this is, as I said, it's par for the course because it's an asset class that humanity is still trying to figure out and still trying to value, and the only way to value it is through buying and selling, and this is what we're seeing.
Do you do that thing that Warren Buffett does? Like if the markets are up, you buy an extra hash brown on your McDonald's, muffin in the morning, or what is your typical breakfast, Farzam?
I don't have breakfast, so I think so that kind of sorts that out. But no, I'll think about Warren Buffett next time I'm at McDonald's. Thank you.
Very good. Look, you have to be happy when the markets are up. But listen, let's talk about Valor now. Like I said, you're the co-founder and CEO. So a digital asset platform that allows customers to buy, sell, store, and transfer cryptocurrencies seamlessly and securely. You say on your website you help bridge the gap between our traditional fiat financial system and the new world of cryptocurrencies. Mr. Ehsani, it seems like everybody and their grandmother wants to get their hands on Bitcoin, because that's been the meme over our last kind of generation, and now it's crossing generational lines. I mean, my grandmother wants Bitcoin, so your site says you can give me exposure to this digital asset. So give me a brief history of Valor. How did you get to this very point where we're having this conversation, and how can my grandmother get her hands on some Bitcoin through your site?
Yeah, so Valor is really, as you said, it was created with the purpose of making it very easy and seamless for anyone to come and sign up and buy some Bitcoin. You can buy as little as 10 Rand worth of Bitcoin on Valor. I think that's really important to say because people see these prices of, 500, 600, 700, even, the height of the high of Bitcoin in the past few weeks was 975,000 Rand per Bitcoin. So people get scared away because they think, gosh, I don't have that type of money to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But Bitcoins are divisible into 100 millionths of a part. And you can buy, as I said, as little as 10 Rand. So you can come to Valor, you can click on sign up. We have a very sophisticated sign up process where we'll ask you just to identify yourselves to comply with regulation. Should take you 5 minutes at most. You can do it from anywhere you want. All you need is, your cell phone or a device and your ID. And then within 5 minutes, you'll be signed up for trading. And then you're off to the races. It's very simple. You go and you'll have to fund your account with some Bitcoin from your own bank account. So just do an EFT and you'll see the details on Valor when you say deposit ZAR. You fund the amount with however much you want, and then you're able to buy it with a couple of clicks of some buttons. So it's very, very easy. You're also able to withdraw that Bitcoin to wherever else you want. Some people don't know where to withdraw it, so they just keep it on Valor. And when they're done, they sell it and then withdraw it back to their bank account, the ZAR, once they're done. So really the flexibility is immense. We we allow you to do whatever you want from a perspective of keeping your value on the Valor platform, or withdrawing it, whether it's in ZAR or in crypto. And that's what we've tried to do is make it extremely simple. We like to think we've got the best product in the market, the best app in the market. But I suppose everybody would say that, but we really do spend a lot of time.
Yeah, sure. Tell me what that means in terms of the exchanges, right? Because I heard that you guys in volume trade more than Luno per month, another well-known cryptocurrency exchange app. Now, what does that mean? And do you kind of monitor the competition and see new guys throwing their hat into the ring in the next couple of months?
Yeah. So we definitely do monitor the competition all the time, just to see what's happening. I think it's important to understand what's going on in the market. Luno is one of our, actually the biggest competitor. So between Luno and ourselves, we account for probably about 95% of the exchange volume in South Africa. Towards the end of last year, we were doing probably about 2 to 3 times the volume of Luno. At the time, I think they then cut their prices to match our prices. In some respects, I think the simple buy is we're still much cheaper than they are. And so right now they're doing a little bit more volume than us, but I think that could change. So I think between us, as I said, we do about 95% of the volume in the country. And all that means is the amount of buying that's selling. So to give you an idea, I think in the last week there was a lot of volume on the platform and on the industry, but Valor processed about probably towards 2.5 billion rand in the last week of trading volume. And we obviously also offer the largest selection of cryptos in the market. So you can buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and then we have over 50 other cryptos on the platform that you can buy, which is the largest selection in the market. So I suppose all that to say, we keep an eye on what's going on. I think it's important because we do want to provide the best product at the best fees. And so we have to kind of see what's going on in the market to make sure that we're doing that.
Yeah. And now I see that you guys added recently, market orders to the online portion of the website. If you go onto the website, you can click the exchange button and you can set stop limits and those kind of things. Now, I was watching you maybe a year ago talking about putting those stop losses and those market orders in place. Now tell me, you said that you needed to secure liquidity in order to do that. Tell me what that means. How did you eventually secure that liquidity to now make sure that people can invest almost in a day trading fashion, right?
Absolutely. Great question. So what does liquidity mean? Let's just talk about that for the listeners, right? Liquidity is really how much Bitcoin or ZAR there is available at any given price level to be able to get in or out of a position, right? So if there isn't sufficient liquidity, as in enough buyers or sellers on a particular platform, then it's, you might have a big position that you want to get out of, and actually you can't get out of that position unless you move the price of the market in a very big way, right? So that's never good. You need to have a lot of liquidity. Exchanges are network effects. So the more people that are on the exchange, generally, and the larger the traders, the more liquidity you have. And so we've built the liquidity a lot. It's at least 10x from what it was a year ago, right? So the volumes have grown, the amount of trading that's happening has grown, etc. Now, the reason that's important for what you call stop limits, and for people that may not know what that is let's say you buy 100,000 Rand worth of Bitcoin and you buy it at, say, 600,000 Rand per Bitcoin. You might say to yourself, listen, I am happy with, obviously, if the price goes up, but if the price starts going down, I want to stop my losses. I want to stop loss. So I am happy to kind of go down to 590,000 Rand per Bitcoin. So you'll put a stop loss there that says, listen, if the price goes down to 590, then sell. But if you don't have enough buyers at that price and you try to sell, then you could get a way worse deal than 590,000 Rand per Bitcoin. So we've had to just kind of put incentives in place and get market makers and others to come and provide the liquidity. And so now that's there, we have the stop loss and the stop limit feature that's available. A lot of people are making use of it, and it's serving our customers.
Very impressive. How many whales do you have on your exchange?
Gosh, very difficult to say. Obviously, we can see the volumes, but we don't know what people's total amounts are, etc. I think it's important to say, Quintus, that we're talking about stop losses.
Yeah.
That is quite an advanced feature, right? People really need to understand what they're doing. So we have what's called the simple buy, simple sell feature on the platform that you would have seen. We always advise people to go and use that if they're starting. The price is a little bit higher to use, but we put protective mechanisms there. So if the price is going to move a lot, then we give you a warning that says, be careful, reduce the size of your order to get a better price, or you might be moving the price at the moment, etc. Yeah. With the exchange, there are that's for advanced traders, and there are no warnings. And so if you don't know what you're doing, you could end up making some mistakes. So it's welcome for anybody to use, but please be very careful about what you use. And we always advise start with a simple buy sell. And then as you learn more, you can go towards the exchange.
No, look, I'm glad that you said that, because, these days, everyone who's been sitting at home because of the pandemic have now installed every sort of investment app under the sun. And you go to some sort of like CFD platform, and you get that little red band at the top of the Chrome window that says, 75% of people or 80% of people lose money trading CFD. So, I personally don't do this stop loss way of investing in Bitcoin. I don't like that. I buy and I hold. Are you one of the buyers and holders, or do you? Luckily, you guys have no leverage, right? You guys don't add leverage to Bitcoin trades.
Not at the moment. Yeah,
because that would be terrifying to me as with the swings that crypto does. Leverage would be kind of insane, right?
Yeah, so there are some platforms that offer 100x leverage. Now, to be honest with you, 100x leverage, you're just kind of taking a gamble. Some platforms offer 125x leverage. If the price moves slightly against you, you're totally liquidated and you lose all your money.
Yeah.
Right. Having said that, there are sophisticated traders on our platform that have said, listen, leverage is actually good for our capital allocation, our capital efficiency. Because we want to get exposure to a higher amount, but we don't want to put the full amount of capital. Again, these are some concepts that are a bit more advanced, and I'm not so sure, the level of the listener over here.
Yeah, look, but, I'm on these Telegram groups here in South Africa, and they're starting to get to that level where they discuss leverage and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm saying people are learning more about things that they don't really know about, and they enter positions that I'm genuinely terrified for. But you're right. Let's step back and talk about Valor as the platform, because some people have heard about Dogecoin because Elon Musk tweets about it and everything, and then when they go looking for what's a South African exchange that sells Bitcoin, you very quickly come to the realization that Valor sells Dogecoin, for example. Now you have the widest range of cryptocurrencies available to South Africans. It's over 55 listed, but one of the questions I do get on these Telegram groups is when might you get a new currency? How do you guys decide which new currency to add to your platform?
That's a very good question. So yeah, we have over 55 cryptocurrencies on the platform. We have a partnership with a company called Bittrex, which is a US-based cryptocurrency exchange. It's on our website. Some more information is on our website about that. And effectively, the way we list is we have a partnership with Bittrex to decide kind of what they list. We leverage their listing process. There are a few things that go into that, which is what is the liquidity of the coin? Are there any red flags about the coin? Like there are certain coins that are just like scams. There's no other way to put it. So we will do what we can to see that there's a particular coin that has a team in place, if there's a team behind it, and to make sure it's as legitimate as possible. At the same time, we do have a lot of warnings to our customers to say, listen, the responsibility of researching whatever coin you buy doesn't sit with Valor, it sits with the customer. right? You need to do your own research. And I think it's a good point maybe just to step back and say, I think crypto is a beautiful thing. And I think it has a lot to offer the world. And I think actually that the world's financial system in the future will be based on cryptography and cryptocurrencies, right? There's a lot of power in that. Programmability of money. There's a lot of transparency that you can derive. Although when you have transparency, then you have to start thinking about privacy concerns, etc. But the reason I say this is that despite my belief that crypto is still in its early days and it will continue to gain ascendance and an ascendancy, I don't think it's for everybody at the moment. And so what I mean by that is if you are living from hand to mouth and you do not have enough money to invest in anything, then I would be very careful about buying crypto. Because, if you're trying to save for school fees or healthcare fees or whatever it is, just imagine that someone did that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and then they needed their funds last week, and crypto had crashed by 42% or, whatever it was. That would be a very, very painful hit, right?
Yeah.
So what I always say is invest as much as you're willing to lose. And that might be as little as, 10 Rand that you're willing to lose, or it might be as much as 10 million or 100 million Rand, depending on who you are, if you're an institution or an individual, right? But please understand that there are risks. So we certainly do not advocate that, everybody has to buy Bitcoin and you're a fool if you don't. If you have investable income and you are investing and you're able to take or have some risk appetite for some losses, then yes, I say then you should be having some exposure to crypto. But if you're not investing anywhere and you can't afford to have any investable income, then please be very careful.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's great advice because, everyone knows based on the news headlines how this thing swings up and down. So, and I like what you say there about maybe investigating these coins, because a lot of people get into a coin that they don't understand. And, they always say that first rule of investment is don't invest into what you don't understand. And I contend that a lot of South Africans probably haven't done their reading on stocks to begin with,
That's true.
Yeah, and so in terms of financial education, though, what do you guys in Valor believe the country needs to do, specifically in South Africa? Because, with Quintessential ZA, I understand that you guys say on your website, this transcends borders, right? Like Bitcoin transcends borders. Nation states, it doesn't really support this idea of cross-border trade with each other. But Quintessential ZA, when I built it, was kind of like nation building in a quintessentially South African way. And I wonder, what do you think Bitcoin or the blockchain could do for South Africa in the long term?
Very good question. There's so much to say about this, but I think in short, let me say this, that I think blockchains are most powerful when they have a native token on them, which is a cryptocurrency, right? There is also a lot of hype in the market about what blockchains can do for whether it's title deeds of homes, to supply chain finance, to trade finance, to much more, right? And I think there's a lot of hype, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people think, cryptocurrencies are hype. Blockchain technology is where the magic is.
Yeah.
And actually it's the opposite. Cryptocurrencies are still very undervalued, if you ask me. At less than now, 2 trillion of all cryptocurrencies are valued at, when gold is worth 10 trillion. I think there's a huge amount of growth, and if you think about just the dollar, which is in the tens of trillions, there's a huge amount of growth. Blockchain technology itself is a pretty crappy database, right? And so if you're a company wanting to deploy blockchain technology, oftentimes people say that because they've got really bad process flows and workflows, and they think that blockchain is going to improve their workflows. And no, that's not the case.
Oh, wow.
It's just another technology, right? So I think people need to be very careful about what blockchain technology is used for and what it's not used for. It is most powerful for a decentralized native asset class that is not linked to anything physical. Because whenever you have something that's physical, so people talk about bananas on a blockchain, trade finance, and we're going to track the movement of bananas, from Honduras to Europe or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Dominican Republic to Europe. But how is the banana on the blockchain? Like someone has to input the fact that it's moved or it's left Dominican Republic, for example, right? And someone say, no, we're moving to IoT. We're going to put chips in the bananas. Well, then who's putting the chip on the banana? Hopefully they don't put it too deep. I don't want to swallow a chip, right? And so you get into this place where you need to recon the physical and the digital. And there's always scope for error there. So the most powerful forms of blockchain are working with native digital assets in a decentralized form. And I think still very few people understand that.
Yeah, but now you've got governments like China and even the Reserve Bank of South Africa looking into, creating a digital currency. Does that discourage you and encourage you, or encourage you, should I rather say, but knowing the appetite for governments, they don't really take well to Bitcoin at the moment. I mean, China obviously caused the swing that we saw. Does South Africa, in your opinion, in the long term, starting a digital rand, is that good or bad?
The very simple answer is that it makes no difference to crypto. When I say crypto, I'm talking about decentralized crypto, right? Because what people don't realize is that when we're talking about a central bank digital currency, a CBDC as they call it, whether it's China, the US, South Africa, and actually, by the way, yesterday, South Africa, the Reserve Bank came out to say that they're going to start research in it, following off what's called Project Coca, which was a wholesale digital currency that they experimented with. What people don't realize is that the rand already 95% of it is digital. 5% of it is physical. So physical notes and coins count for 5% of all rands in circulation, right? But when you go to a restaurant and they give you the bill, they tell you to pay 100 rand. They don't tell you to pay 100 digital rands or physical rands. You can decide how you want to settle it. And so the introduction of a crypto or a CBDC, as they say, is just a third form of money, right? Of third form of the rand, third form of the renminbi, third form of the dollar, if they get there. Now, there are some benefits to that. And this is the subject of a completely separate 3-hour podcast. But in short, monetary policy doesn't change. The money in circulation doesn't change. Banking can change because you're actually allowing individuals to hold currency if it's retail CBDC directly with the central bank. And that has a whole host of implications for liquidity, what's called maturity transformation with banks from deposits to loans. But not to get too technical here, it has very, very little impact, if any, on things like Bitcoin. Bitcoin derives its value, in my view, from the juxtaposition of fiat currencies like the rand, like the dollar, like renminbi, that have unlimited supply. Crypto and like Bitcoin has limited supply. It's not controlled by anybody. There's no central bank that can issue more of it. And that scarcity is where it derives a lot of its value.
Interesting.
And that isn't changing with a CBDC.
Yeah, that kind of plugs it. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
No,
the last thing, CBDCs are subject to the same monetary policy as the current monetary policies that we currently have.
Yeah, we got a question from Neil on Twitter, and he was asking about the supply and demand of cryptocurrencies and what actually gives it its value, inherent value. And I mean, I know you were a blockchain lead at Rand Merchant Bank a long time ago, and you guys were maybe tackling that idea all over the place. But now you've got Valor, and now we have more than just Bitcoin to invest in. So he asks, if we take something like Cardano, for example, we buy the 88 coin, but Cardano, the company and the developers itself, have no fiduciary responsibility to make you money. So what do you actually own when it comes to owning Cardano?
It's a very good question. And this is something that people need to think about, which is generally in the world, you've talked about buying assets, right? And you're either buying like, if you're talking about some type of an organization, you're generally buying either the equity of that organization and their stock, or you're buying debt, which is, a bond of the organization. But this is a completely new asset class. So what exactly are you buying, right? And I think the closest thing is like a commodity like gold, where gold, it doesn't do anything for you, but humanity thinks it has a lot of value. And a lot of humanity kind of goes to gold in times of uncertainty. But you can't eat gold, you can't clothe yourself with gold, you can't shelter yourself with gold. It's really a pretty useless mineral, right? It looks nice and shiny and it doesn't rust. So when you talk about like Cardano or ADA, for example, you need to understand what is the network effect going to be? What is the utility of that going to be? What is it used for? I do believe that a huge number of the coins ultimately will have no value, right? And that's because we've had this Cambrian explosion of a whole bunch of different projects and coins and people promising different things. And ultimately the market will decide, but it's the same thing that happened with the stock market in the early days. We had all these new .coms. Most of them burst and were valued at zero. A few of them survived and are some of the most valuable entities in humanity right now, right? From a corporate perspective. So I think we'll start to see similar things there. So that's why I said it's still early days and one should be very, very careful about what you're buying or selling. At the same point, some people would say, okay, well, Farzam, if you believe that, then why do you have so many coins on your platform? If you think, many of them will go to zero. And our view is that I don't know it's going to go to zero, right? Yeah. And I think the market will decide what should be valuable and what's not. And at Valor, what we provide is a venue where the market can express their views and opinions so that collectively society can say what has value and what doesn't.
Yeah, so it's kind of linked to the explosion of social media and everybody coming on board to several social media sites to pump the value of a certain coin, and that's kind of giving it the value that it has.
You got to be very careful of the hype. I will say that. Be very, very careful of the hype. And in the same way, be very careful of the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? Because, a lot of people were selling last week when the price was going down, and probably a lot of people crystallized a lot of losses. Whereas if you understand that this stuff is volatile and you understand what the core proposition of Bitcoin is, for example, then, as you said yourself, you hold it and you kind of weather that volatility. But overall, that volatility has been going in a positive direction in the longer term, right?
Sure.
So be very careful of the hype and the FUD and try to understand what you're buying.
Yeah, I just tell individuals, go out and make something of yourself, educate yourself, buy some cryptos, store them, and then let them hold over time. And then once you open the app in 10 years' time, you're going to be quite happy you did that. But you don't actually have to hold it in the app the whole time. Tell me about the security behind Valor, because obviously some people now buy Bitcoin and they buy certain cryptocurrencies and they don't believe that they actually own anything. They just believe it's on this cloud platform that you provide. I saw you guys were giving away physical wallets the other day on your Twitter. Now tell me about the security side of Valor. Can I buy one of these wallets and store every crypto that I buy on your platform onto a physical wallet? Talk to me about security in general when it comes to Valor.
Very good question again, and it's important that the public is educated about this. So first of all, let's understand what crypto is, right? So cryptocurrency is effectively an asset that you prove ownership of by virtue of holding a private key, all right? That private key is associated with a public address. That a public address is where you can see who owns what and where you hold your coins, or where the coins are basically, recorded on a public ledger. But the private keys that nobody should see, because if anybody sees them, they can get compromised. The holding of those keys is what effectively secures your crypto. Now, at Valor, we're a centralized exchange. So when we hold your Bitcoin, for example, what that means is we spend a lot of time, money, effort, expertise, external auditors, external cybersecurity firms, etc., to put in place a security system to make the security of those private keys as secure as we possibly can. So that's actually what we are, is we're primarily a security company, right? Then we also have an exchange, right? Now, what I said earlier is that anybody is free to withdraw their crypto from Valor. And if you withdraw your crypto from Valor, you can then feel free to actually hold your crypto on what's called a hardware wallet, a software wallet, a paper wallet. But then you yourself are responsible for the security of those keys. So if you lose those keys, it's like losing your wallet, your physical leather wallet where you've got $100 or 100 Rand in it, you've lost your money. There's no resetting of your password. If you get compromised and someone steals those keys, you've lost your money, right? So the question, and a lot of people say, oh, you should make sure that you withdraw your coins from an exchange. Well, the truth of the matter is there's risks whatever you choose to do. So our job is to secure those keys. We do everything we can. Every platform like us I hope, does everything they can, right? Probably, I mean, I don't know if the platforms you can, but I can say that what we do is we don't spare costs from the perspective of a cybersecurity provisioning to create that security that's required, because at the end of the day, that's all we have, right? Sure. That is our reputation. So if you feel you can do a better job than us, then by all means, withdraw your coins, right? But please understand that there are risks also when you withdraw your coins, right? So there are risks both ways. There is no such thing as 100% security in anything in life.
Yeah.
So understand what the risks are and then kind of act accordingly. So that's, I think, probably a very big important thing to understand in crypto is what is a private key and how is that held. And we have actually a lot on our support sites, the support.valor.com. And Valor, again, is VALR, support.valr.com. We have a lot of information about our security, how we secure the keys, how we secure the Valor platform, how we secure customer accounts, customer data, encrypted. So there's a lot that we do, and it's important for customers to actually educate themselves and understand that.
Yeah, look, it is one of the most important questions. I mean, I asked that back in 2015, 2014 of the Easy Equity CEO, Mr. Charles Savage. I said, if you go bust, where are my stocks sitting? Am I going to be able to transfer this to another broker, for example? So I'll kind of ask you the same question. If Valor finds itself in a position where, you might have to liquidate the firm type of thing, which I don't think is ever going to happen, but if it does, where do you then, what are the financial regulations around cryptocurrencies at the moment in South Africa specifically? Because we want to know, can you then migrate all of our stuff to a different broker, or are you just going to kind of put it into our accounts, or can Valor ever be an exit game exchange like we've seen over Bitcoin's history?
Yeah. When you say exit, you're talking about like an exit scam.
Yeah, for
example,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think it's very important. So a couple of things. Let's just define what an exit scam is. There are some exchanges in the world where the founders have said, "Oh goodness, everybody's placed this confidence in us," and they've left for the Bahamas or whatever. Like, it's just pure theft.
Yeah,
right?
That happened with mirror trading investments in a certain way. It happened with MTI, but that's happened in South Africa's history of Bitcoin.
It has. That was even worse because there was also false promises and things like that.
Yeah.
But you need to understand who are the founders of the business, who are the investors of the business. So you should look into Valor. You should look into my history. You should look into our investors' history. See if you can trust us. That's the first thing, right? And any platform, actually. That's the first thing. Second thing is you talked about compromise. So all crypto assets and ZAR are kept in segregated accounts for customers. So we don't touch those assets as part of our operations and things like that. They're a complete segregated, ring-fenced accounts for customer funds. We don't take customer funds and lend it out or anything like that. So we're not like a bank in the sense that banks will take deposits and then lend it out. And then there's an inherent risk there because there's a liquidity risk that if everybody wants their money out at the same time, you cannot get it. So we don't have any of that. If 100% of our customers want 100% of their money back right now, it would be available to them, right? We would need to go into cold storage to actually get that. And there's a little bit of a process to do that. So there's some liquidity management that's required there. But effectively, everybody has their funds completely segregated, completely 100% reserve, as we call it. Like that, there's no risk from that perspective. Now, from the perspective of a compromise, if there was a compromise at Valor or any other exchange, and I'm going to talk more broadly about exchanges in general, you need to understand if there's insurance or not. Now, insurance has been very, very difficult to get in the crypto industry. We are still in the process of talking to insurance providers to provide insurance on customer funds. The insurers don't know how to value the risk right now. So oftentimes insurers come back and they just say that they decline to quote.
Wow.
Right. And this is actually the same as pretty much all exchanges around the world. There are a few exchanges like in the US, for example, that have been able to get some insurance or some funds of their of what they hold. But this is a very rare scenario in crypto, right? So I think it's important for customers to also understand that. What are the risks that they're taking? Because we're still maturing, not just from a crypto asset perspective and the price rise, but we're still ensuring with what's available to crypto companies in the form of insurance, for example.
Yeah. No, I think you've won the confidence of certain crypto investors in the last year or so because, you know, with the pandemic and everything, like I said, everyone is now trying to onboard themselves to some sort of exchange, and you guys are front facing. But I think, and to go back to, you know, Bitcoin and blockchain as this idea that could democratize access to some form of market in South Africa, or maybe be the first step into some digital economy in South Africa. I was thinking, what about a quintessential coin, Farzam? And we hosted on your platform, and people, because this is an interesting thing, right? I mean, blockchains could also be a confidence mechanism. So say I'm a media company, right? And I decide to now have a coin. Now, people's trust in me can be reflected in how many people are actually investing in the coin. And if they didn't like what we were doing, they could short us and totally put us out of business type of thing. Now tell me, can Valor become a side project maybe of Valor, where we create creator coins for South African creators? Because we are starving artists at the moment, Farzam.
So it's a very good question. You know, if I were looking at that coin, the questions that I would have to ask is, what is the utility of the coin, right? What is the distribution of the coin? Who has that coin, right? How is it secured? How is the supply limited? Who's running the nodes of the coin, right, of the blockchain, right? Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, including ourselves, when I was at the bank, we created coins just for kicks, right? And there are a lot of bona fide projects that are taking off, but there are a lot of projects where the thinking is, how can I benefit myself? And if I can spin, and I'm not saying this is about
please. The quintessential coin is very legit, and we care about everyone who's invested.
The question is, what are you trying to do with that coin, right? So a lot of people say, if we can spin a nice marketing story and we can sell a few coins, then we can take people's money, and then the coin will go to zero, and then we've won and they've lost, right? Obviously, that's never good for the public. Right. So I think the main thing is always just to think about, what is the utility? I can't obviously comment on a quintessential coin, don't really know what the dynamics of it would be. But it's always good to be skeptical of any coin, to do the research before one buys it. Obviously.
Well, if you want to get into some form of Ponzi scheme or be one of the first investors, Farzam, you could help me out, man. We could build something big. But without being financial advice.
Count me out of that.
It won't be a Ponzi scheme, man. It's for the betterment of South Africa. But that's what I want, and that's what I've said to Charles Savage, CEO of Easy Equities. Just an idea of democratization to markets at a low cost. R5 to buy a fractional share. Now you guys come in with 10 Rand to buy, any form of cryptocurrency. I'm really liking where this movement is going. But I believe there's some hurdles, regulatory hurdles for cryptocurrencies in the future. I mean, where do you sit on that? Because we don't really have a out there answer from, say, for example, SARS to say, Bitcoin, I guess what, capital gains tax, but these things that we do on exchanges, are they taxable events, buying and selling all the time? Tell me about that regulation. Does it keep you up at night?
No, it doesn't keep me up at night. We're engaging very closely with the regulators. And also, for example, there are different regulations. For example, SARS has been actually very clear about cryptocurrencies and the tax obligations that customers have. So they call it an asset of intangible nature. That's the wording that they use. But basically, if you're a day trader, then you owe income tax on it. If you're if you're holding it for the long term, you own CGT, capital gains tax on it. So it's actually no different to really holding a home. Like if you're buying and selling homes every day because that's your job, then any income gets taxed at your marginal income tax rate, right? If you've bought a home and you're holding it for a long time and you sell it, there's obviously some deductions and some exemptions, but it would be capital gains, right? So I think that's on the one side, and that's important for customers to understand that SARS has been very clear that crypto is definitely encompassed within the tax framework within South Africa. There's no ambiguity there. The second thing is just about regulations for platforms like ourselves and also cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and things of that nature. We're very close to the regulators. We share our views very candidly. I believe we have a very good relationship with the regulators. They have put out a couple of papers on the position of the regulators on crypto assets. We're now waiting for the refinement of those positions because they asked for comments from the public. We as Valor gave our own comments, and we're waiting to see what the next steps are.
Very cool, man. Very cool that you guys are front facing and trying to find a place where ultimate compliance is the thing that needs to be done so that we can have fun on these platforms, Okay, well, Farzam, thanks for joining us. I have maybe one more question. Without it being financial advice, which relatively unknown crypto are you focusing on, and what intrigues you about it? Let's pump it up.
So I will decline to comment. I don't really comment on the coins themselves. I don't. To be honest with you, my focus is actually just on providing a stable platform where people can buy and sell. We obviously have a coin team that works on listing coins that we think may have a good chance and people want, and that customers are demanding, etc. But I will humbly decline because I literally there's nothing that I want to pump up.
Farzam, it is very fashionable for CEOs to pump up a coin these days. I mean, come on. Specifically South African CEOs, by the way.
we don't do what's in fashion. We do what's right.
Very good. I like that. So, final question. Where is Valor going in the next couple months to a year? I do believe that people have been asking for something like buying, smaller cryptos with ZAR, because at the moment on your platform, you have to convert to Bitcoin and there's minimums there. Yeah. Give us an idea of where the company's going and maybe just a word on, buying smaller cryptos with ZARs.
Buying smaller cryptos with ZAR is actually soon to be released. So awesome. The work has already been done. I believe it's in testing right now. It should be released shortly. We obviously don't release things until we're very happy with them. They have to go through an entire release cycle, through the development of it, the testing of it, penetration testing of it, etc. So we can't give an exact timeline on when it will be available, but it should be very soon. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'd say look out for a product that we're going to announce very soon that I think is going to be awesome, absolutely awesome, in the RAND system. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
So I would suggest people sign up to valor.com. It literally takes 5 minutes. It's absolutely for free, no monthly charges. There's really no fees unless you trade. So it's kind of a no-brainer just to sign up and kind of experience this new world. And our fees are so low.
Right.
To give you an idea, I mean, if you buy 100 Rand worth of a coin, over Bitcoin, etc., you're paying way less than 1 Rand in fees. I mean, it's really negligible, right?
Yeah.
So check it out, and I'm very excited to announce a few things. Follow us also on valor.com at VALRDOTCOM on Twitter, and we'll make some announcements shortly. So thanks so much for having me on, Quintus.
Perfect. I'll put everything in the YouTube description of this video, plus my referral code. Send me some love, people on YouTube. But that was the co-founder and CEO of Valor, Farzam Ehsani. Thank you for joining me on the show today.
Thanks so much, Quintus. Take care.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.